India remains deeply concerned about the safety and security of Indian nationals in Canada, especially after the violent disruption outside consular camp in Brampton, Ontario on Sunday. After Prime Minister Narendra Modi said such acts of violence will never weaken India's resolve, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar too expressed concern, saying that it was unacceptable that Indian diplomats had been placed under surveillance by Canada.
I think what happened at the Hindu temple in Canada was obviously deeply concerning. You would have seen the statement first by our official spokesperson and also the expression of concern by our Prime Minister yesterday. That should, I think, convey to you how deeply we feel about it. Canada has developed a pattern of making allegations without providing specifics. Secondly, when we look at Canada, for us, the fact that they're putting our diplomats under surveillance is something which is unacceptable.
Earlier on Monday, the Ministry of External Affairs said that India condemns the acts of violence perpetrated by extremists and separatists with an expectation that those indulging in violence will be prosecuted. And Professor Swaran Singh, School of International Studies, JNU, continues to stay with us. Professor Swaran, as the External Affairs Minister, Jaishankar has said that Canada placing Indian diplomats under surveillance is unacceptable. Do you think India is reasonable in demanding more stringent action from the Canadian government on the matter?
Definitely, Tanvi, but it's not just the surveillance issue. On several counts, the behavior of Canadian Prime Minister has surprised not just Indians, but his own citizens, his own ministers, his own parliamentarians. Pictures that are on your television are pictures that used to be pictures coming from, unstable, poor, backward countries. So first of all, these are all people who are citizens of Canada. And what is the state of law and order in Canada in that sense? If this is what is coming on television, that people are just chasing each other and hitting each other, and that's not a picture of a developed, peaceful country. Of course, I therefore call this whole tension not as tension between Canada and India. It's a tension between Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and India, or maybe with himself, because it lacks any explanation as to the kind of language is being used, the kind of insinuations that are being made in public through media. That's not how friendly nations deal with each other. And in that sense, I think this is only bringing enormous discredit to himself. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is becoming a kind of a target of criticism by his own former ministers, who are using very harsh language to describe him as someone who has no clue about how to do nation building. The impact on India and Canada relations is one part of the story. The credibility of Justin Trudeau himself, the future of his Liberal Party, the future of Canadian society, social fabric. I have absolutely no way to understand why, for just staying in power, that is the only explanation that is possible. He's trying to pander to some of these separatist sympathizers, so to say, and is really with enormous cost to Canada, to his own political party. And last time, about 25 or so MPs had written a letter to him that you should resign on 28th of October, which has passed now. So I have no idea till what time he's going to continue in power as Prime Minister. And I think till then he will continue to ratchet up such repeated bouts of tensions, having impact on the ground level with all his other, sort of administrative staff, police, and of course some of these people who are inflicting violence with absolutely no qualms, no limitation. And after these videos, also the kind of statement that has come from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is just his concern for violence, without naming people who are inflicting violence, which are so visible with their flags in hand. So this lacks any explanation as to why this kind of behavior is continuing. India has tried its best to say, please share evidence with us. Example of United States is very clear. India is working very closely with the United States if there are such concerns. And language from the United States is also very different. So it lacks any logic to understand the kind of strategy or language or behavior that we have seen from Prime Minister Trudeau, and that is going to have such implications for people on the ground behaving likewise, at least some of them behaving likewise.
So what happens to India-Canada relations in the near future, including trade and immigration?
I think fundamentally, a lot of work still continues, a lot of trade, investments, cooperation continues. And because I often say business doesn't listen to politics if it is trying to create chaos, of course, that creates disruption for sure. And I think for the relationship, we have to perhaps wait until exit of Justin Trudeau. He apparently is not showing any inclination to change his tone and tenor, which could be tomorrow, next week, next month, worst case till October of next year if he survives with support of Jagmeet Singh's New Democratic Party whenever no confidence motion comes against him. But definitely October next year, he's not going to come back to power. I hope he gets even elected as a member of parliament, let alone as prime minister. The kind of angst, anxiety, anger that is visible now inside Canada against him is so apparent. I think he should take a cue from this and rectify his behavior and then make sure India is a rapidly growing country, and most countries are trying to be friendly to India. You saw Foreign Minister in Canberra, and Foreign Minister Penny Wong mentioned her respect for multiculturalism and so on, saying that citizens should feel safe. So Justin Trudeau's friends themselves are beginning to be cautious and distant in terms of what they want to say about what is happening in Brampton and Surrey. So it lacks any explanation fundamentally what explains that kind of behavior of a person who's been 3-term Prime Minister of Canada, a developed and a friendly Commonwealth country, which should have a very different way of dealing with, even if it had a concern of that kind, as to how to resolve these issues. This absolutely is not understandable why he's continuing to do this. Only worry is that has impact now all the way to the ground level in the street. Violence, which is where India's concerns are genuine, because the large number of, just 250,000 students of India, young people who are looking for future. And of course, large number, about 2% population of Canada is of Indian origin. That concern India would definitely have. So it's not limited to surveillance of Indian diplomats in Canada, which of course is a very serious concern. There's a series of other issues on which I think India should really, I have no idea, maybe go around and then
Prime Minister Modi has made his statement today as well. So certainly things being heated up in this soaring of ties. Okay, we'd like to leave it here. Thank you very much, Professor Swaran Singh, for showing us perspective on both these stories. Thank you very much for joining.